we have this massive breathing pattern disorder that's underneath it, it's very difficult to connect with that shui, with that evenness, with that sense of calm and peace, and that things are going to be, that things are okay. They're going to be okay. So there's.
Yeah, I think this morning today's working here is kind of revealing the truth of, like, all breath comes from, it comes to me. So in starting to kind of experience in that real quiet place, that there's the breath, I'm being breathed. And I'm being breathed and in that quiet place, it brings the heart is very happy. And then once I'm connected to, like, feeling that like, this is why I'm here to be breathed, that kind of opens up that there's not so much negative and positive, there's life.
Yeah.
There's so many people that get the idea about breathing and they try to make it happen, make it happen instead of allow it. Or they make it happen and it works better because they do something that maybe I've shown them something that works better. And then they get the idea that it all works that way. Oh, I can make it all happen. I can make whatever breathing happen, and I can make myself feel better. And that's not the case. So there's a balance between allowing it and redeveloping it. And then you redevelop it so that you can better allow it. Or that you can also better use it to make sound, to sing, to speak, or that you can begin to manage it to be able to sleep better. And stay more focused and concentrate better.
Well, and I think the longer we're able to live with the calm, it slows down. This is like it slows down the mind that keeps telling me I have to do.
Monkey mind, some people call that.
And it's actually like in that heart quiet space, I can actually listen and something comes. This wants to be manifested. This wants to come out. Far different than when I'm thinking I've got to do it. Yeah, I've got to force it to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's seems like we're breathing and having, just working with it brings us into a really fullness of our being, and it doesn't. We can't control the outer world to that degree.
It's futile.
It's futile, whether it's natural disasters or jerks,
Which, on one hand, they're the same, basically, no difference.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a cute story that this Harvard business MBA goes to a little fishing village in Mexico, and he sees this guy on the side of the dock who's fishing, and he comes by. He says, "Hey, man," he says, you could be going and getting an MBA, and you could be learning out about business, and you could be making lots of money, and then you could have all the time you wanted to just sit here and go fishing." And the guy looks up at him and he says, "But that's what I'm doing already."
Okay. Makes sense. I think, I really like, especially two things that, each of you said right now. First, you said you were being breathed, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's, and I find so much relationship with what you said with the breathing reflexes. Because that way you're being breathed,
you're getting that comes in. And
it's happening automatically. It could also be named. I guess as well. Like it is already an automatic, right? Automatic breathing reflex.
Mm-hmm.
So it's happening whether you want it or not. Your body is doing it. So it's telling you, okay, I'm breathing. Okay, you're taking it. It's taking over. So basically, with the exercises, maybe that's one of the things that want to be done, as a foundation, as a, um, like a subconscious memory or something, that it could happen most of the time without forcing it.
That's what's going on with her. She, you remember what I'm talking about? She came here, and then we worked on it. We got the reflexes coming in, and then all of a sudden now she's starting to notice them, because the reflexes don't just happen within the exercises that I have in the DVD. They happen throughout the day, regardless of anything that we're doing. We just need to become more familiar with them. So she's becoming more familiar with them. Then she started to tell me, "Oh, one just came in. Oh, another one just came in. Oh."
That's something I haven't been able to do. Seriously.
I have 40 years on you, Joe. This is like it's starting.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm starting to getting one of the ER doctors in this period of time who really gave me such a piece of truth. Like he said, like all of this, you're really in very good shape. You just have to know you're just a little old. and it's really very helpful. I mean, it doesn't slow me down at all anymore, but it makes me laugh. It's like that's just one thought on the 40 years of this reflex. But the one thing I was gonna, I know, when you were saying before about the reflex thing, I think another thing that is this morning, today, last night, today, and all. I was talking to the woman. I'm staying at a bed and breakfast, so I was talking with her a little bit last night, and she was talking about the loneliness of her life and going back to her childhood and following it through, and which is it's a common wound or hurt of people who feel lonely or they're like no one whatever that is. But what's coming to me with this breathing work is it's this breathing that the breath that is breathing me, but like you say with the reflex, it's there. It's really establishing the core relationship of my life.
Mm-hmm.
In relating to that breath is such a mystery, and it's like here, and when you get quiet and calm when I was standing, it's like how joyous, how blessed I am to be brought here to learn this.
Mm-hmm.
That is the most satisfying. It's the most satisfying thing is to be in relation to that source of breath.
And my frustration is that kids have lost it by age 10 or 11, and that number one, we should go about it to where we know they're not going to lose it. And number two, if they do lose it, that we start helping them get it back, because otherwise it's not going to go away. It just stays there.
The stress just keeps building.
Absolutely.
Like just what your symptoms are exactly same with me. The symptoms of all of that you can't eat them away or do any of those things.
But you know what keeps you in the wrong track many times is the fact that people actually tell you that you can eat them away or drink them away, and that's why you keep focused on that path, on the wrong path, because they tell you, just keep doing it.
Well,
such as with the meditation that I told you I did for several years and got no real, tangible result, it just sporadically worked. That's it, but I said I have to keep doing it. Eventually it's gonna work. It never did. And of course, nutrition on its own, does very little help, and there's things like that. But something I wanted to mention right now, just to continue the train of thought that you started, is about the emotions and breathing, which is a very big piece in the puzzle here. I have become more aware of my breathing as well. Maybe not as much as you, because wow, you really amaze me. I can't actually catch those reflexes when they come naturally, when I'm not, you know, working on those exercises. I just don't feel them, you know.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, it's something to look to aim towards.
Yeah,
It's
that's
great.
right,
It's something
right.
that's gonna come naturally, hopefully. So, something I wanted to mention is the fact, something interesting I have also noticed with my breathing is I've worked for several years in, you know, like the food industry, you know, like restaurants and, you know, the like, diners, whatever. And you know, there's times where customers get really, really annoying and frustrate you. What, seriously, and my breathing is, I mean, not perfect, but it's pretty good right now. So I'm not, you know, I'm not overtaken by what I'm saying right now. But people are really dumb sometimes when they want to order food to you. They don't know what to do. They've been there like several times and they still like they see the food there, like toppings, sauces, whatever, and they're like little kids, you know. And usually that doesn't affect me. I mean, most of the times I'm like, oh, no problem, sir. This is creamy sriracha. This is this. Yeah, okay, take your time, no problem. There's a line of 20 people behind us, but hey, take a couple more minutes. You know, it's all right. Hold the line, no problem. Then there's times where those little things frustrate me, annoy me, and you say, wow, hold on, what's happening here? This is something that's probably worth analyzing and, you know, going through deeply. Because why would it annoy you? Why would something like this disturb you one day and the other day actually make you laugh even, you know?
Okay,
You
can
take-
I go into that a little bit?
Absolutely, please.
Okay, okay. We're talking about, well, let's just keep this into one particular area, which would be hyperventilation. Carbon dioxide levels, for those out there, you know what that is. Basically, hyperventilation is situational. People will, their breathing pattern will change from good to bad depending upon what's going on in the moment. So, for instance, people say, well, they're feeling anxious or worried. Okay, that's an easy one. Socializing, meeting people, some people just go into bad breathing in those circumstances. Being confronted by others, that's easier. You can say, okay, well, that's a little fearful, so, you know, my breathing pattern's going to change. Physical discomfort, being accountable or in charge. I'm in charge. I have to take care of it. I have to handle it. Okay, that can set the stage for somebody's breathing going upside down. And the things that we want to look for that coordinate with that would be maybe chest tightness, pressure, pain, dizziness, lightheadedness, fainting, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, tingling, numbness, fingers in the lips, unable to breathe deeply, not exhaling completely, avoiding the exhale, chest breathing, effortful breathing, rapid breathing, panicky breathing, worried about your breathing, mouth breathing, can't seem to get enough oxygen, you know. All of these things can come into play moment to moment depending on the situation, depending on the triggers. We call them triggers. So there's two ways of approaching that. One is you get your foundation in your breathing so rock solid that nothing bothers you, you know. Or if that's really the sure way for handling practically everything.
Yeah.
But then there are things that may still come up, and so this may have to do with a breathing pattern disorder or hypocapnia or hyperventilation that can also be trained out, you know,
Yeah.
trained out. So then it becomes, oh, gee, this person, and I went back in time, this person was wearing a red cap, or they had a tattoo of a enemy gang that I used to know as a kid or something, you know, and I just didn't notice it, but I did notice it, and so my breathing went off, and I reacted to what was going on, you know, and I didn't notice it. So, so this is really what you call situational hypocapnia. And as I said before, it could be trained out in terms of maintaining shui, maintaining a rock-solid foundation. A lot of it can be trained out, and if it doesn't, that's where I use the biofeedback instrument to pick up the slack. We can go in and find situations in the person's life where they need to get trained out of. And because they're recurring, because this initial training or this fundamental ground foundational training hasn't quite gotten all the situations. Now other people approach it from the other end. They go the mind-body. I'm doing the body-mind. They go the mind-body route, okay? And some people can be quite good at it. A faculty member of mine happens to be quite good at it. He invented the biofeedback instrument that I use a lot. So it just depends, but lacking the biofeedback instrument, one can notice that, okay, if you stay in enough calm, you can begin to realize what it is about the situation that is upsetting. You can begin to realize it. And the more you do the practice, that I showed you this morning that we've been working on, you know, the standing and breathing. The more you do that, the more when stuff happens, you're just going to be there with it. It's not going to get you. Not going to distract you. So there's a training, not necessarily a looking at the individual circumstances that cause that abreaction to occur. There's a training so that nothing happens, nothing disturbs.
Yeah.
Sorry, because I guess it would be, I mean, difficult to approach every single stressing situation. You can't do it.
Exactly.
There's a million, you know.
This nips most of them in the bud.
Yeah.
It just says,
Yeah.
here I am, give me your worst, I'm going to stay focused and calm.
You know, what's coming to me now, it's like the breathing gives us something just immediate in the body that we can pull up one of the practices or the reflexes. In the situation that you're describing in that restaurant, with one day somebody can take 5 minutes, which is usually how long I take, and then their line is way long, and the next day that just bugs you, you know. It would seem to me, if I'm getting this, the value in terms of the breathing as being the tool practice that is home, and that we need to learn.
Yeah.
But I'm currently, and I will for the rest of my life, I work with dream tending, which is it's not dream analysis, but it's taking the images of our dreams and tending them. And the person that I work with, when you speak your dream, one-on-one or in a little group, everybody listens, and then she speaks it back as she heard it. So then it's kind of like out here.
Mm-hmm.
Then, as you've had the dream, you've spoken the dream, and you hear it back, then to begin the tending, she uses the word pop-ups. What are the pop-ups in the dream? What really, of all the images, you know, what disturbed you the most or made you the happiest? So those become the primary things that we tend, that she starts to open up and look at. And it strikes me now that I've been doing this now for a number of years, that's what a day brings. What are the pop-ups of a day? The daylight becomes dream time as well. So
Very nice.
what pops up, pops up. Now in the moment, the breathing is what's going to bring us through the crisis of what is coming up, and we don't understand why yesterday this didn't bug me, why does it bug me today? But somewhere in the nighttime you'd want to, you know, when you have off work or when you have time, you know, it's the pop-ups of the day can be kind of like, what is that? Do I think I'm responsible for all those people in the line that are going to get upset because I'm letting this person do it? So you don't know what that's going to be.
You know, it's amazing. I mean, it's such a whole, you know, topic, you know, on itself, and it's so interesting, you know, everything you just mentioned, even about the dreams. And I think it's interesting the fact that, I mean, the way you guys approach it, because there's books, even Freud used to have, you know, like interpretation of dreams, but how can anybody interpret your dreams but you know?
Yeah.
But going back to the breathing,
Yeah, it's great.
there was one last thing I wanted to tell you guys about, and everyone listening, about the situation with people, you know, and customers. For example, just there are many cases. all around, but in this particular situation. And then I learned, I kind of figure out something just like clicked, you know, and I said, wait, I don't think I'm kind of breath holding. And then as soon as I realized that, I was like, okay, let me consciously breathe for a few minutes, you know, and then my mood lifts, you know.
Yeah.
So that was very helpful, and I was like, and then I just realized, hey, you know, in my own head, come on, you're making such a big deal about this, you know,
Well,
it's
the
not
big-
worth it.
The key to that is knowing how to breathe.
Yeah.
So but if you start taking deep breaths, somebody says, well, take a deep breath, take a deep breath. And if you had a tendency to hyperventilate, or if you had a tendency to be asthmatic, or you were asthmatic, you would get worse.
That's
You
true.
know, or you all of a sudden, oh my God, I need my inhaler. You know, when you look to your inhaler instead of the breathing pattern.
That's brilliant. And thank you for saying that, because that's been my case. One of the reasons I came here, you know, was to I have what, you know, Mike calls in his own words the speed bump of life. You know, it's like a knot in, you know, under the sternum. And other people have different, you know, definitions for that. I particularly like Mike's, because it's, I mean, it's brilliant. The speed bump of life, you know, a speed bump for emotions, for energy, for everything. It goes here, and it's like that. And that, you know, full breathing or proper breathing, you know, hasn't been available to me for many years, and still, you know, working on that at times. But it's much better. And because just as he said, you know, the situation with this is that, you know, the deeper you try to breathe, when it's like Mike said it once, you know, like a horse with its, you know, stepping on your foot.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel right, you know, unless, you know, you take it off. So that's kind of what you have to do. But I mean, developing the breathing, you know, helps where this knot down, you know, and begins to open you up. And that's when, you know, breathing better becomes available to me, you know, just then. And that's why I've been able to do it recently more than before. Other times, if you're into stress, and, you know, imagine somebody just pushing their hands right here onto you, you're not going to be able to breathe. And the harder, I guess, the harder you try to breathe, the more damage you're going to do to yourself.
It's kind of like a python. You know, the python waits for you to exhale, and then it closes, tightens up a little bit. The constrictors, then, you know, then you wait a little bit, you exhale, and it closes, tightens. So pretty soon you can't inhale at all.
Yeah, no,
And then
I'm
you
very
get eaten.
familiar with the pattern you're saying.
Yeah.
It's very, and you get
Yeah.
kind of panicked when you try to get the breath, and the more you try, the less breath there is.
Right, and that's why we work with the squeeze and breathe. We start with the squeeze and breathe. Squeeze and breathe can take you out of anxiety and out of panic, you know, and it's not the all to be all in terms of permanent long-term exercises, but it's where you start. And that gives people a sense that of hope, that something's going to work. And that's why it's so important. It's been published for the last 20 years. I dreamed it up about 20 some odd years ago, and it's been published all over the world ever since. We call it the Squeeze and Breathe. It's on the website. It's in the videos. It's all over. It's accessible, free, on the website. Squeeze and Breathe, and you can also get a full description of it in the DVDs. So.
Could I just tell a little story?
Say what?
I'm going to
Please.
tell a little story that I have a Labrador dog, and I take her on various kinds of walks, but there's one in the neighborhood that's about 4 blocks altogether, but it's up the hill. There's a house that has a dog that is just rabid, you know, and if it's in the house, it just, the blinds rattle because it's barking when you walk past. But every once in a while, they'll have it on a very thin chain connected to I don't know what, but it's in the front yard. So the first time it happened to me was I'm walking Sadie, who's a very lovable lab and, you know, is not a watchdog. Anybody she sees is to play with her. So we're coming up, and I didn't know that this dog was here. and we're walking, and it just comes running, and it's like I think it's got some coyote in it, so it's got those ears and that nose, and it's barking, and Sadie just, I just panic, you know. I mean, I've got her on her leash, and when I'm kind of calling, and this dog, you don't know if it's going to break its leash or not. We get past it. I'm like major. There's no breath. I've stopped breathing. Sadie's like, you know, she's over here taking her dump now. You know, so this went on for it's gone on for a year or more, and so in the course of this period of time, you know, trying to deal with holding breath, someone named the dog, when I told the story, they called the dog Hercules. So somewhere in the last 3 months, I've come to the realization that, okay, before we get to this house, and we don't know whether the dog's going to be out or not, I stop and know that I have my breath. And I know now, this is a practice that I'm going to have this, whether it's not or not, can I keep breathing and not lose my breath and let that rabid dog go running at us, you know? And I've really done it now where the dog is out, you know, and Sadie and I keep, it's lower, but it's going to be better when I get back now with all that I have. But the really sweet thing is Sadie, who her hackles used to go up and she'd get all kind of freaked out, but please protect me. Now we come up and because I stop, we center, she gets up and now she starts like, is that dog there, you know? She's got some attitude about this dog, like I'm sick of you scaring me.
Mm-hmm.
And we walk past the house. But so it's like a combination of the animal, you know, is picking up. But I see things now, and I know it's going to even be more so with all of this week, is situations that are potential or in the past. I'm just going to kind of like stop and know that I have my breath.
You prep for it, right?
I'll kind of prep for those problem areas, and they'll be like they'll be tests to practice from.
When I was 7, I had a dog grab a hold of my face right here and shake it, and I had to have gamma globulin and anti-rabies shots and everything.
Wow.
And it was very painful, and the dog just wouldn't let go, and he kept shaking and shaking and shaking. So, say 40 years later, I'm doing a men's group. And I'm walking up to, it's in Mill Valley up in the hills, and I'm walking up to the house where the men's group is, and out of the woods come 2 160-pound bull mastiffs bounding towards me, like this, just bounding towards me, you know. And I love dogs, especially big dogs, and comes bounding. The one in the front comes over to me, and he gets my thigh in his mouth, and he's just playing. He puts my whole jowls about this big, you know, and he just gets my thigh, and he says, and I just said, "Hi, baby." I never met these dogs, you know. Say, "Hi, baby."
What a good
and I
dog.
pat him a little bit, and he lets go. And I'm sitting there for a few minutes, and then the owner comes out behind, you know, the owner. Well, the owner could have, you know, if I'd have been nervous, I'd have had a heart attack, right?
Right.
Dogs would have bothered me that much, but that dog was big, was really big. So, you know, there's yes, and I wasn't practicing breathing particularly. Oh, that reminds me, I wasn't practicing breathing. There's one of my favorite cartoons. It says it's got this guy hanging on a tree with a alligator trying to bite his butt.
Yeah.
You know, and it says when you're up to your ass in alligators, it does little good to remember you forgot to drain the swamp. So the time to handle the alligator is before it's nipping at your tail. It's before, and that's what the practice is about. That's what getting the breathing back to where it stays foundational regardless of what's going down. You're walking calmly through the gates of hell, regardless of what's. That's where we want to get to. I'm not there. You get me in front of the computer and things go, and I would like to just shoot the thing and walk away.
Let me add something. I mean, with this this whole thing of developing it